And of course, it's live from New York, a city that, as I just pointed out on Newsmax, actually, is becoming known for anti-Semitism. Can you believe that? This has always been in America, I would think, and I hope no one's offended by this, but this is offended in the sense of other cities like Chicago and LA and Baltimore and Boston. But I would say this is the Jewish capital of America. The more Jewish people in New York than other American cities. The number of Jewish people in New York rivals Tel Aviv and surpasses Jerusalem. Of course, they are American Jewish people, but still Jewish in the sense of that's who and what they are. And it has gained greatly for that. There are many things that are uniquely Jewish about New York that we all benefited from. I could say the same thing about the Irish and the police department, the fire department, and things like that. About the Italians with the restaurants and the food and the art, the music, the opera. Or I could say it about the blacks. The black capital of America has always been Harlem, right? Jazz, big fight between New Orleans and New York about where did jazz come from. We've been the Hispanic cap. We go on and on and on. Before that, German and Polish. My goodness. And if I left somebody out and I'm really in trouble, but I can't remember who it is. But what I saw at Cooper Union and what I saw last Saturday in Bay Ridge, a traditional Republican area of New York at one time, it's now, I guess, what you would call purple, because it's had both Republican and Democrat representation. But when I was mayor, it was one of my strongholds. And it was a largely, at that time, Irish and Italian population. Beautiful Catholic churches in Bay Ridge. Beautiful. It does have, and has always had, a somewhat of a Arab population, and now Palestinian, I gather. It's called Little Palestine. Terribly vicious riot on people went to jail, attacks on the police. It might have been an Antifa riot, not quite that bad, but something like it. I mean, it did have a few of those strange interludes where the press were there and trying to make it peaceful and things were burning in the back. The minute things start at a protest, it goes from protest to riot. You know that, and then the police do things to try to calm it down and make it something that it isn't. So this weekend we're going to have another one, but this time we're going to have it in Crown Heights, which is a horrible place to pick, because it was a place in which a pogrom took place in 1991. Yes, a pogrom, probably one of the most horrible situations in New York history. It happened under, of course, a Democrat mayor with similar, but not nearly as radical policies as these idiots that you've put in office in every city in America. If they're not communists, they just don't know it. And it's bound to create issues. Bound to. It's the world headquarters of the Lubavitcher community. The Lubavitcher community is the largest Hasidic group, with a legendary saint as a rabbi who died years ago. I had the great honor of knowing him and had the great honor of being blessed by him. But hope that one is held in real check by the police. You don't need another disgraceful display of anti-Semitism, violent anti-Semitism in Crown Heights, New York. Really, just 1 mile from the old Ebbets Field. Well, it looks like they still haven't caught Mr. Card. Quite a name, actually, Mr. Card. The only thing we can say about it now, because we're really without real information, is the thing that comes up most dramatically, in which, of course, the liberal phony intellectuals that guide a great deal of the thinking, are running around, driving themselves crazy and getting hysterical about gun control. which one isn't going to happen, and number two can happen. You're not going to control 300 million guns. So, it's the same thing like money doesn't grow on trees, so stop spending it. Idiots. And you don't appease dictators like Biden is trying to do now with Iran and putting the lives of American troops in grave jeopardy. I don't know where you get your naive, silly ideas. And Maine is one of the worst states for intervening when people have mental health issues. Now, here's the line, and here's the problem. At one time in this country, we used to incarcerate people who were mentally ill if they were a danger to themselves or to others. We used to have commitment proceedings in which the testimony of two psychiatrists, one that a family might bring or the government, and then one the court would appoint, would basically be the basis for putting you into a mental institution and keeping you there until you were safe. We changed that a long time ago, and we let them out in large numbers with the idea that they would get treatment in the community, largely relying on medicines to treat. The problem with that is we never built sufficient number of community centers. Number two, even when you do treat the mentally ill with medicines, they don't take their medicines because they're mentally ill. Huh? Some conservative should have had something to say about this, because they would have raised like a practical issue that made the whole thing stupid. But they weren't. They're a bunch of silly, well-meaning, but they probably are the people who have destroyed our society the most, well-meaning liberals. And they wanted the people to be out. Just put them all out. And we did put them all out. And the problems since then have been amazing, unbelievable. And lately, even worse, because we get more and more liberal in time. And Maine, it's almost impossible to get somebody held in Maine. I'll give you an example. Last year, there was a man named Justin Butterfield, and he was refused long-term involuntary commitment after multiple mental episodes, hospital visits, run-ins with the police. He murdered his brother. They turned him down for putting him in, and he murdered his brother. Brother would be alive today if the silly airhead liberals hadn't changed the standards for commitment when you're a danger to yourself and to others. Now, this guy Card announced to the military he was a danger to himself and others. I mean, when he talked about the dreams that he was having or the ideas that he had in his head about suicide and things like that, should have been reported, should have been put in, should have found out what's wrong with him, and should have kept him there until he wasn't a danger any longer. A great deal of the crime that we're suffering in American cities happens because of that. But usually it's a single crime, maybe a single person dying, which is too much, or these strange things that we have where somebody is hit on the head and the person has no motive for it. These people should be incarcerated, and those standards should change. When you combine that with the Soros DAs and the liberal Democrat mayors, these cities are going to hell. And they're going to hell because there are too many mentally ill people on the street, and there are too many criminals on the street. As simple as that, and a lot simpler than it was when I dealt with it, when the problems really were multifaceted. And but they also were then the product of liberal theories about human behavior, which are as unrealistic as their theories about money. The Biden administration theory about deterring Iran, in fact, will encourage Iran. Because look at what happened the last 2 days. Perfect example. For 4 or 5 days, as we've reported to you, Iranian proxies, which means Iran, were hitting American facilities, meaning bombing them. And they didn't distinguish between those that had personnel and those that didn't. And they have injured 24 although many people think it might be as high as 40 Americans, and they've killed one. They don't tell you about the one that's killed because it was a contractor. They said he had a heart attack. Can I explain that if he did have a heart attack, he had it running away from a bomb? Would you consider that? Would you consider that a death caused by military action? I sure would. But they don't want to tell you about that because they're a bunch of lying punks that run our government, right up to the ones with the medals on who prostitute themselves for Biden and double cross the men who work for them, because Biden puts them at grave risk. Look at all that he got killed in Afghanistan. He's going to get more killed here if he doesn't stop this. So America, after much denying that Iran is involved, and Biden saying silly things like that there's no proof that they're involved, and trying to do everything he can to avoid holding Iran accountable. I guess he doesn't want an investigation because it could be the money that we gave him or his predecessor, Prince Obama, gave him in cash that paid for some of these arms. But in any event, he decided we were going to have a strike. We had two F-16s do a strike that actually it would have been better not to do because it was silly. They hit two places with no people, with just armaments. One of them actually possibly had been cleaned out already. It was one they knew had been used to supply, I believe, Hezbollah in I think it was Hezbollah. But I think we did one in I think we did both in Syria, although we should have also hit some of the facilities in Iraq where we also were pounded. But we did the two. They were silly attacks. They were the kind of attacks where if you're the Ayatollah and you do that kind of an attack, he says, yeah, this is a coward. I have a free reign now. Yeah, let him hit all the ammunition facilities that he wants, particularly if half of them don't have ammunition. And they did it again today. They attacked twice today. We're now working on the response to that. I think we're going to hit probably the backyard of an empty, once used garage that had one military vehicle in it. I think that's what we're aiming for. And we'll warn them in advance so there's nobody there. Meanwhile, we've taken about 40 injuries and a death, a lot of people injured, and they hit us again today after we deterred them. Any question about whether we deterred them? As I said, they hit us again today after they deterred them. Secretary of Defense, stick it up your man. Where does Biden find these guys who agree with him? I mean, if I were the Secretary of Defense and the president told me to do that, I'd walk out. Are you kidding? They're putting drones and bombs on the head of our boys and women, and we're gonna go hit a dump with ammunition in it, and one with no ammunition in it. We might as well do what Clinton did with bin Laden. They hit a couple of empty fields after they attacked the coal. You don't think that encouraged September 11? If you don't, study history. But this is what Democrats do. This has become the party of appeasement. They actually make Chamberlain look pretty good because Chamberlain never gave them money. Remember, it isn't just a $6 billion that Biden wanted to turn over. He's been releasing money to them since the day he took over from Trump. Couldn't wait. First day, more money for Iran, which is why they have the capacity to do this. People ask, would this have happened under Trump? No. Among other reasons, they didn't have the money to do it because Trump starved them. That's why they had 1,000 protests. That's why they finally had the courage, because Trump supported them and Biden turned his back on them to hold posters like "Death to the Ayatollah." You don't see that in Palestine, do you? Well, I thought tonight was going to be the invasion. I was wrong again, man. I guess, it's Shabbat. I mean, you know how many excuses there have been? The latest one is he is waiting so that we can get our air defenses in place, which apparently we do we now have in place. So therefore, the speculation was that there was going to be a big invasion tonight. That's because the press actually believes this crap. You know how many times the reason has changed for the delay in the invasion? I'll take you back to a week ago. Over. First delay, clouds. There were clouds. Apparently, the Israelis didn't want to go up because a lot of their equipment can't be used in clouds. Kind of have a hard time believing that. They got pretty expensive equipment. Most military equipment is built to deal with clouds because we have them a lot. It wasn't exactly a storm, but okay, that was one of the reasons. Then they needed time to train. These people train every day, but they needed time to train. They've been waiting for this attack for only 20 years, but they needed time to train. Then rumors started to come out that Biden, when he took his trip to Israel, was pressuring Bibi not to attack. They denied it. The liars that work for him, who are, I think, to work for him, you have to promise to lie. We used to take an oath to the Constitution, but they take an oath to lie for Biden. And they said, no, Biden never said that. He never said that. Never. Israel kept their mouth shut. They didn't even leak out on him, which is surprising. But they have to be disgustingly submissive to him. But then when he came back, he was asked a question. Did you delay? Are you delaying the invasion so that humanitarian aid can get in? And he said, yes. The most distinct yes he said in years. But then they put out a thing that he didn't really hear the question. In a day, there was another question about anti-Semitism that the dopey press secretary he has also didn't hear. So they must be having a hearing problem in the White House. It's like, it must be like, I never knew that it was infectious. Hearing loss can be infectious in the White House. But then during the day, his Secretary of Defense and his mouthpiece, Kirby, both slipped and said that they wanted Israel to delay. This is after it was leaked, denied. Then they said it, and then they just stopped denying it. They just stopped taking questions. And then the reason started shifting. Israel needs more time. We want to make sure the humanitarian aid gets there. We want to make sure that Hamas is well fed before they fight us. You really think? Come on. Well, every single person listening to me is smarter than Biden. You really think that any of that went to the people of Palestine and not to Hamas? Would Hitler have given it to the people of Germany? Well, these people are as bad as Hitler. They hate the Jews as much. They didn't kill as many, but they sure killed them as brutally. And they're driven by their hate. They're not, it's almost unfair to use the word anti-Semitic about them. They're obsessively, homicidally anti-Semitic. That's what they are. And even the ones that aren't terrorists are obsessively anti-Semitic, if not homicidal. That would be almost the entire population of Palestine. Except for people who escape, I rarely see anyone in Palestine taking up the cause of Jews, ever. Nor do I ever see them protesting against their corrupt government in the north, Fatah, or their terrorist government in the south, dictatorship. So Bibi is delaying again. They did a preparatory strike for 1 hour. And the preparatory strike was into the northern part of Gaza. And they killed about 4 Hamas significant, they say significant members, leadership members, and it gave them a chance to disrupt and to dissemble things that might be rather obvious obstacles for an invasion. And they may have repeated that today. I'm pretty sure they did in 2 places, although I think it's pretty hush hush. So they are doing something. They're also responding, because here's the frustration of this. While this is going on, they're being bombed from at least 2 places, sometimes 3. Well, they're being bombed from several places in Gaza. Then they're being bombed from the north, from Lebanon and Syria. So they're being hit in 3 directions. The more serious hits, well, I'm not sure that that's serious anymore, because Gaza, the Iron Dome, now that the attacks are not 100 missiles at once, the Iron Dome has been pretty effective in protecting them over the last week. They've had some hits and they had some casualties, but I think that they've been less significant. You can't quite get the figures. But the mere fact is that while the Israelis are being held back, the Palestinians are bombing them. Now, here's the interesting statistic I would like to get, but I don't think you'll ever get it. With a quarter of the Hamas rockets backfiring and Iron Dome stopping many of their offensive rockets, I wonder if they're killing more of their own people. No, those backfiring rockets didn't just kill the people at the hospital. They kill people every day, because they really don't know how to fire the rockets safely. That's why, would you please let the Israelis go in there and clean it up before they kill themselves? This administration is made up of, I don't know how to describe the people. The Secretary of State is pretty much a worthless human being, a rag, like a rag. I have personal animosity toward him, because he created the letter from the 51 prostitute intelligence agents that the hard drive had earmarks of Russian disinformation. It had no such earmarks. And then I was accused by his boss of being a Russian pawn. That was the doing of our lying, I can't even call him what he really is. I mean, it looks like he wants to go into these meetings and he's kissing everybody's ass, let's put it that way, and never representing the United States. And he's made a couple of speeches about Israel now that are totally belied by the fact that they give enormous amounts of money to the country that wants to destroy the Jews. That's got to make you, if you are financing a country that wants to destroy the Jews, are you anti-Semitic? Well, then if that's the case, then Obama is one of the biggest anti-Semites in America. So is Biden. Because in addition to the $6 billion that he tried to get there, and he may have, we don't know if Qatar still has that money. He's gotten hundreds of millions to them and released sanctions, other money. The other guys sent him cash. They don't even have to wait to translate it into cash to give it to the terrorists. Obama was even more clearly helpful in the sense that he gave them the currency they could use to give to Hamas, Hezbollah. And he can't be stupid enough not to know that's why they wanted cash. Can you imagine an American president giving a country money so they can support terrorism? Oh, and then sometimes, and I think I've heard that complete nitwit Sullivan say this, that they're not going to use the money for terrorism. They're going to use it for humanitarian purposes. Well, first of all, that's absolutely not true, particularly the money in cash. You don't need cash for humanitarian purposes. Wire is good enough. You need cash for drug dealers and terrorists and organized criminals and mullahs. So you need cash for it. Sullivan knows it. Sullivan actually is stupid, but he's not that stupid. And he's more of a liar and dishonest than he is stupid. So here's a great example of what we face with the lying, anti-American, pro-communist establishment in this country. one of the most distinguished foreign policy magazines in the United States, maybe in the world, is Foreign Policy. It has an undeserved great reputation. It used to be a great magazine, like Times used to be a great magazine. It has a great reputation. It has lost its reputation because it does the kinds of things that scumbags do. Now, let me tell you what they did. So Sullivan wrote an article that came out before, or certainly was. I think it came out. If it came out or it was in print, in galleys before the invasion. And in it, he was laudatory of the effectiveness of the Biden policy in the Middle East. This was to contrast it with the unbelievably historic things that Trump did, which even his exaggerations, the article was silly. He's never created peace anywhere, Biden. And Trump did it all over the Middle East, with the exception of Saudi Arabia. And nothing like this was happening in the Middle East under him, much less what's happening in Ukraine. But he tried to say things about, here's a little quote: President Biden's disciplined approach frees up resources for other global priorities, reduces the risk. This is about a week before. Reduces the risk of new Middle Eastern conflicts and ensures that U.S. interests are protected on a far more sustainable basis, meaning more sustainable than Trump. Now, if your national security advisor knows so little about the world that he writes that a week before a war breaks out in the region that he says is peaceful, and it puts America's interests at in grave danger, puts American lives, including the ones that are held hostages, the ones that have been killed already, the Americans who were in Israel have been killed already, the Americans that are among the 500 that are not allowed out of Gaza, and the American soldiers who have had uranium bombs put on their head. Our national security advisor is telling us there's much less of a chance that would happen under Biden than under Trump. And 1 week later, the hell breaks out. First of all, he should be fired. I mean, he's just too stupid to be the national security advisor. I mean, he doesn't have to be a prophet, but he can't be this wrong. This guy's judgment is so bad, people died as a result of it, if we counted on it. He also looks like he's about 14, and he sounds like he's about 13. And he's a massive creep involved in all of the anti-Trump activity. Just a total amoral piece of crap. Now, it gets worse, though, because the once distinguished Foreign Policy magazine let him change the article. So history doesn't get the benefit of possibly one of the things that led to this, and also get the benefit of understanding exactly how much in the dark the Biden administration was. I mean, that is Mr. Foreign Policy magazine. Disgraceful. Why even buy it? First of all, it's a bunch of liberal shit anyway. And plus, it's entirely dishonest and non-patriotic. Patriotic enterprise would say, no, that's got to stay there for the good of America so that we can make proper judgments. I mean, we're brainwashed enough. We can't start changing history for you, Mr. Creep, child who shouldn't be there. Well, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
Okay, put you on a second. I'm going to connect it. Yeah.
Will you get them ready and tell me when we're coming? We are back. Hello, are you there? We just got a surprise call from Israel, from our good friend Joel, who a long time ago I named as my Israeli correspondent. And then we were very worried for Joel. For about a week, he didn't call in to me, or even he also calls my colleagues at ABC. He calls Greg Kelly. He calls Bo Snerdley. And I imagine others. Maybe he calls Sid also. I'm not sure. But in any event, he didn't call any of us. Then he finally made one call, and we've heard from him again. But he's calling us from Israel, where 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, about 3 in the morning. It's about 3 in the morning. So when Ted hooks up all the.
Joel, can you see if you can hear?
Yes. Where do I talk to?
Right in the mic. Joel?
Okay, Joel, how are you? Joel?
With you. How are you tonight?
Joel?
Yes. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. And Ted, can the audience hear him?
Can you hear him? Can you hear him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I only heard him.
So, Joel, tell us what you were saying something about Nazareth.
Well, that's going to be another meeting that we'll have, but I have some ideas about
Okay.
an event that's coming up there.
Please tell us.
That's for us to talk about.
Well, tell me what you would like to say on the air.
Sure. Well, first, I just really want to thank you and all your staff and all your listeners for the support. I know it means a lot to everyone here. I was visiting with some soldiers today on the border, and they feel the prayers. There's high hope. There is a strategy to make sure that the Hamas and the Amalek and evil is eliminated from planet Earth. And so all the prayers mean a great deal. Sometimes things can't happen as quickly as we would like, but we'll look forward to positive things. There is a creator of all the earth, and so all the music and prayers that everyone's doing are part of bringing more goodness and light. So I shouldn't really be calling on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, but when lives are involved, it's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to bring healing to the people that need it. I'll just say that part of what allows people to have peace in these times is getting in the Word, whether it's the New Testament or the Tanakh. It helps to calm down the nerves. And this is a great spiritual battle that's going on. So just open up, read a psalm, and then get back to work. And also, I just want to say, Mr. Mayor, your knowledge of the Quran and what you said yesterday in the show about studying when you read the Quran in chronological order, because right now the way the Quran goes from the longest versions to the shortest versions.
Yeah, very, very, very.
So it's all out of order, and many
deceptive.
Muslims do not know that the Quran speaks about Israel being given by the Creator to the Jewish people. Everyone's welcome to be here, as long as they don't rebel against God. So many Muslim scholars, people that study the Quran the way you have, understand that these terrorist organizations are actually going against their own religion. And so it's a key point. I'm really glad you brought it up. And I encourage more people to read it in the proper way, to see that there's a spiritual and a theological solution to all of this. And as more people become educated, there's going to be more harmony in the world.
That's
More
really,
and more
really
Muslims.
true.
And like they say, the Palestinians will be grateful when Hamas is wiped out.
They will.
I
be.
also really encourage people to listen to the Green Prince, the son of Hamas, who is a devoted Christian now living in California, and some of his interviews. And I hope, Mr. Mayor, that if you're not familiar with him, you could perhaps host him sometime or do an interview with the
I am
Green
not
Prince. Are you
familiar with
with him?
Say that again, Joel. I'm not familiar with him, and tell me who it is.
So he did a podcast yesterday with Piers Morgan, and he's been making the circuit, and it's possible he might be the future leader of Gaza.
And his name
He
is?
is a biological son of one of the founding members of Hamas. I'm sorry, I don't know the names specifically, but he saw their brutality growing up as a teenager. At some point, he got saved. He got baptized. He served about 27 months, I believe, in Israeli prison, and he became a spy for the Mossad. And then he became a refugee in America. He's a resident of California now, and he speaks very truthfully about really what people need to know about Hamas. And I encourage everyone to watch his
Do you know his
interview
name?
with Piers Morgan yesterday, and I hope that he'll be a guest with the mayor.
And his name is? Do we know?
I'm going to have your staff have to look up his name.
we'll
or
get
I will
him.
have
If
to.
he-
I just know known as the Green Prince, son
Green
of Hamas.
Prince. Okay. So he was on a podcast with Pierce yesterday.
Yes, that's right. His name is Mossab Hassan Youssef.
I've heard of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are correct. I've heard of him. I have not. I've never met him, but I've heard about him, and in very much the same light that you're talking about. So I would be very honored to talk to him, and it really is necessary, I think, for people to hear that perspective from people of who understand the Muslim and the Islamic tradition, and when I point out the good and the bad in the Quran, but you can point out the good and the bad, not even necessarily in the writings, but in the history of all people. And there's good and bad, in America, and but the good prevails, and that's what they have to have happen. They have to have the good things that come out of the Quran overcome the other things that are ancient evil things that were done that should be gone. Never.
That's true. As you pointed out, Muhammad was very positive towards the Jewish people in the 6th century until they didn't convert to his religion, and then he became virulently against them.
Yes, he became a terrorist. He became a terrorist.
12th century physician, the Rambam, points out that he diagnosed Muhammad as being schizophrenic.
Well, whatever he was, he killed a lot of people.
Down to today's time. I would like to share with you an intelligence briefing that came out a few hours before the Sabbath from the IDF.
Please, we appreciate it.
This is a special briefing they gave to the international media that everyone knows that Hamas routinely and in emergency uses humanitarian infrastructure in the Gaza Strip for the benefit of its terrorist activities. The focus of the organization's activity in the Gaza Strip is the Shifa Hospital, SHIFAA Hospital. It's the central and largest hospital in the Gaza Strip, located in the heart of Gaza City. In the Shifa Hospital, there are several underground complexes used by the leaders of the terrorist organization Hamas to direct their activities, and a tunnel that reaches the hospital and allows entrance to the Hamas headquarters without going through the hospital. In addition, inside the hospital, there is Hamas Internal Security Control Center, which is widely staffed with armed men. The hospital has 1,500 beds and about 4,000 staff members, but also houses IMD weapons and ammunition. So they focused in on the Shifa hospital, and I think we'll be seeing that in the news over the next week.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, of course, the modus operandi of Hamas to put armaments, key people with patients, with hospitals, with children, so that when you take out those offensive facilities, you pay the price of being, labeled as, well, you're the one who killed them. But it really is they're sacrificing their own people. I mean, anybody who study the history of war, this is a very unusual thing in war. So think about studying the history of the wars that when we used to have history as a subject in America. I mean, George Washington didn't take the Revolutionary Army and have them hide behind the women of the colonies, so that the British had to come in and shoot the women first. They stood up like men and man to man and defeated them. Well, I mean, these aren't even. I'm sorry, but these are not even human beings. I know God probably will disagree with me on that, which he has every right to. But to my way of thinking, when you hide behind hospitals and babies and women and God, you're not even worth. You're not worth anything. Well, Joe, how are you? Are you safe?
I'm safe. My nerves were very rattled for many, many weeks. I'm starting to get involved with some volunteer organizations that are allowing me to make deliveries and collect donations, and that's been helpful. Whatever people can do to do volunteer work in whatever cause, it's a good cause. It gets us out of our own emotions. I was shocked. We were all shocked. Now we're mobilizing and we're moving forward.
Is Iron Dome working more effectively now? It seems to me that they're still launching rockets, but they're not doing as much damage as they did in the past.
Generally, that's true. Although we did have a big hit today in Tel Aviv, that hit a building, and it's few people a day are still getting injured from these rockets.
People are being injured and killed still on a smaller number, but it's still happening.
Shrapnel and glass. Sometimes people don't have enough time to get to their safe rooms. In some places, it's 15 seconds. In some places, it's 30 seconds. In some places, it's a minute. So people that are mobile can do it. But if you have an elderly person, they always can't make it to the safe room when the siren goes off. Sometimes they're in the middle of something. Sometimes the siren is 5 seconds delayed. And so there's shrapnel. Of course, everyone's encouraged to lay down horizontally because much less chance of getting hit by shrapnel if you're horizontal rather than vertical. But sometimes people are not able to get down on the ground so quickly.
And how would you?
I should just point out, this was an ancient form of prayer, where people did prostrate themselves every day. Nowadays, in our time now, we don't often do that. So athletic people can get down quickly, but older people always can't get down, so they get hit by the shrapnel. It's a good time to get ourselves in shape. Maybe this is a good time to take a break with the the pills that you take every day, but it is a good time to do we have to be ready. This is wartime for sure.
Well, Joe, how would you rate Iron Dome at this point? Is it working now?
It's 95% effective.
Good. Okay. That's a good,
as you mentioned.
I mean, it really is on the close proximity of your enemy makes Iron Dome a real challenge.
That's true. And it also has to do with the type of rockets that they're sending.
Mm-hmm.
So if the technology is going to increase against us with the guided missiles from Lebanon, it's going to take the whole system to a whole new level.
And are you hopeful that there will be an invasion soon?
Well, I believe that all invasions are not merely kinetic. And we're already seeing an invasion, and we'll continue to see an invasion. I think The goal is success,
Yes.
and they will be successful. And kinetic invasion is one method.
Good. Well, we're praying for you. We'll continue to pray for you, and you call in anytime you want. We're always interested in this over anything else. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, could you transfer me back over to Ted? I just want him to take a quick note for
Yep,
you for the president.
absolutely, Ted. You want to get it?
Yep.
Well, that, of course, was enormously important. And we're so glad that he's doing so well and contributing and I'm sure expressing the spirit of the Israeli people. I've been to Israel at times in the past when they were at war, under stress, and the Israeli people are remarkable. And you might remember, I don't know if you do, that on September 11, when I was asked, what do I attribute a lot of my strength to? I said, well, I attribute it to copying people, the Israeli people and the British people, the Israeli people and the recent attacks that they've been going through, and the people of Britain during the Battle of Britain. And if they can do it, we can do it. And I had a very, very strong experience of that when the Jerusalem bus was bombed in the mid 90s. And the mayor asked me to come and ride the new bus with him, the first one that would come out. So I hurried to Israel, and I was coming with the notion that I was going to, calm everybody down and give them a great deal of strength. And just the opposite. They gave me a great deal of strength. They're remarkable, remarkable people. So we're going to now, at the suggestion of Joel, who thinks we should do the Balance of Nature commercial, we are going to take a short break. Here.
Body is an amazing chemical laboratory. When you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry.
Get 35% off your first order by using discount code RUDY.
And this is for Joel. Balance of Nature for Joel. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Here, Joel, we're going to send you some. We got to get your address, and we're going to send you some. This will help keep up your strength if you can't eat.
Balance of Nature to our audience on Getter and Instagram. Be sure to go, and really all our audience, but our audience on Instagram and Getter, you don't see the banner that's currently describing Balance of Nature and telling you where to go to get your Balance of Nature, and that's balanceofnature.com. And be sure to use that promo code Rudy for 35% off your first order. That's right, 35% off. That's more than a third of the total cost being taken off by using that promo code Rudy. And again, you're not just doing your body a favor, but you're doing the country a favor, and you're supporting everything the mayor is doing here on America's Mayor Live and everywhere else you see him. So balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy. Trust me, this is one call you're going to want to make.
They're not allowing too much film and intrusion into what's going on the border, because I'd love to show you a shot of what's been described to me, although I haven't seen it, of course. Otherwise, you'd see it. Of how many troops are lined up on the Gaza border. But this is just a little picture we have of some of the tanks that were going. Now, these tanks, this is an interesting story. Let's see if I got it right there. Here we are.
Nope, you had it right. Oh,
I had it right.
You
Yeah,
had it right.
I always
And push it up a little bit more. Just
push it
up, and up. Good.
Okay. Now, so what you're looking at are tanks heading right at the border, going over the border into northern Gaza. That was yesterday. And they took out some booby traps, some key facilities. They counted 4 specific Hamas members they wanted to take out, who would have been major obstacles to an invasion. And came back pretty assured that they had prepared the groundwork for for a future attack. If I understood Joel correctly about kinetic attack, what he's saying is that due to the pressure of Biden, they're not going to be able to do the kind of attack, shock and awe that could end this thing pretty quickly. So once again, Biden is going to cost more lives as a result of his interference in this. But they're going to do it one way or another. If they have to do it in small segments like this, they will. Doing that, they will take much more casualties because think about it. If they go in en masse after the kind of aerial bombardment they've done and the additional aerial bombardment they will do to cover their invasion, they'll take things out quickly. Meanwhile, if they go in piecemeal, until they get near the end, there's going to be a massive number of installations shooting at them, as opposed to hitting them all at once and disabling them all at once. I mean, there's no question you're going to multiply the casualties by some frightening amount. Does this occur to the madman in the White House? I know it occurs to the soldiers because I've been told that. I didn't make that up. But I would like you to examine the common sense of it. And then you'll realize why the Biden administration isn't following it, because it makes common sense. It'll also get more Jews killed. Maybe they want that as well. If 150,000 or 200,000 of the 300,000 go in all at once and hit every known facility at the same time or roughly within the same period of time, hate to use the word blitzkrieg, but that's what the Nazis used to call it, right? You're going to take casualties, but you're going to take their ability to kill you away from them faster. Now, if you go in 3,000 at a time, the 3,000 are right now, the 3,000 that go in right now are facing the full armada, the full armament of the Palestinian Authority, such as it exists, attacking them. And unhindered by their being under attack. Well, they're going to kill many more people. And if you do this over a period of 20 or 30 days, 5,000 at a time, 10,000 at a time, 20,000 at a time, you'll finally get down to they don't have the facilities, but you're going to give up a lot more blood than if you do what I just said and what they were planning to do, which is go over, I don't say all at once, you always hold a good deal back, but go over in a mass number that overwhelms them and takes out 90% of their offensive capacity and puts all of their offensive capacity under pressure while you're attacking. So none of them really get free shots at you. It just takes a person of common sense to figure it out. And it takes a person with a conscience to order it. It takes a person who is an evil person to hold it up. Well, you know which choice we made and the pressure we're putting on Israel. And because of who and he is, Biden cannot make the right decision. Sometime I'll explain that to you, but I know too much about his life. We have a new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. There were a lot of observations about him in the New York Post, people that like him, people that don't like him. The people that don't like him for a reason that I like him. He's an election denier. Like Hillary Clinton. Stacey Abrams.
Okay, when they want.
Phony bastards.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's
they are
it's quite
phony.
something.
A known election denier who opposes providing support to an ally, Ukraine. First of all, he did provide support for Ukraine. He supported it enthusiastically. He's raised a question for the benefit of the Ukrainian people, how much of it's being stolen. If you don't raise that question, you probably don't raise it because you were one of the people who shared in the stealing, like our president, and helped to rape the Ukrainian people. You know how much was in their bank when the government left the 2 governments ago? I mean, they're all corrupt, but $800,000, all taken by people, including one of the guys closest to Zelensky, who got himself back into the country when Zelensky got elected and has made Zelensky a multimillionaire. His name is Kolomoisky. We'll do a special on Kolomoisky so you stop sanctifying Zelensky. He is not entitled to sanctification.
No.
He is entitled to support in trying to beat off the Russian occupation of the country to a certain degree. When it can't be done and it becomes a useless mission, and Ukrainians are dying for no reason and Russians are dying for no reason, you would think these people who want a ceasefire in Israel, which is actually a no fire because they haven't even gotten started, you would think they'd want a ceasefire in Ukraine, wouldn't you? I mean, the same thing's happening. People getting killed. Nobody's making progress. Russians aren't taking any more land, and the Ukrainians don't seem to be able to take any back from the Russians. It's getting people killed, and we're paying for it. Or we're paying, or we're making a lot of Ukrainians rich. And there may be some people, a few people in Ukraine, because it is the second most corrupt country in the world, that want to continue the war because they're making money. Did you ever think of that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the reason why Arafat didn't want to make peace, because it would cut off the money.
Black market industry.
And he became a billionaire. Suckered Clinton. You know, Clinton's supposed to have been one of the smart Democratic presidents. Completely taken by a camel jockey. A guy who had to wear a thing around his head to keep this sand out of his ears took Clinton. He didn't take me. I threw him the hell out of Lincoln Center. Right? So don't forget the Secretary General of the UN should be kicked out, Guterres.
Oh, we have that.
We don't have time to play it again, but we will on Monday. We'll keep reminding people. This is a never forget. This is an absolute never forget. To pay attention to the demonstration they're going to do cruelly in Crown Heights this weekend at the International Center for the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who is a saint, and do what they can to disrupt and hurt the Jewish people, as they did in 1991 when they conducted a pogrom there under the guidance of Al Sharpton. Remember that? He's on one of the communist networks. Pay attention to what happened to Cooper Union, because I suspect this might be worse unless our police are ready to act as people who stop riots rather than are ordered to watch them. So we'll be back on Monday with you. And I will be on Sunday with Dr. Ryan on Uncovering the Truth. It promises to be an extraordinarily interesting show with some very, I think, things that will surprise you and observations that will surprise you. We are going to end this show. And for those of you who want to continue with America's Mayor Confidential, we're going to take, this time we're hopefully going to succeed. We weren't last night, but we had a great conversation last night. We're going to hopefully succeed in taking some calls to find out what you want to know that we can help you with about Israel, about Ukraine, about anything else for that matter. We also want to spend a little time this weekend with all of the things that are going on to relax and enjoy yourself and spend some time with your family. Hopefully you have a family. If you love football, spend some time watching football. This is the time of the year to do it. Even if you have to suffer like I do as a Giant fan, although last week I didn't have to suffer as much. Don't forget that the Bidens are still major crooks. That's not on the news anymore, but the $200,000 loan from his brother came out. The U.S. attorneys in 3 places turned out to be dishonorable human beings: Los Angeles, D.C., and New York, where they wouldn't go forward with cases on Biden because they are political hacks rather than U.S. attorneys. That's the same U.S. attorney, by the way, who's torturing the J6 people. He didn't have time. And in America's Mayor Confidential, I will talk to you about a particular U.S. attorney with whom to whom I gave confidential information which I'd rather do in a smaller setting. So if you want to take